From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun. Hello and welcome tonight. Federal Executive Council approves national policy to strengthen industrial harmony, framework to enhance labor relations across all sectors. Senate Army Committee seeks exit from envelope budgeting to secure greater operational funding. Nigerian Petroleum Regulator reports oil output surpasses 1.8 million barrels daily in deep water sector. And U.S. Middle East envoy heads to Gaza following productive talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
And on business, latest report from IATA shows African airlines leading cargo capacity growth, and this is despite drop in demand.
On sports news tonight, the victory party of the victorious Super Falcons continues as the MTN Nigeria host the 10-time Women's African Cup of Nations champions in Lagos.
From the nation's capital, the verdict is in. Kwara State High Court sentences one Abdurrahman Bello to death by hanging for the murder of a final year student of the College of Education in Ilorin.
We begin from the nation's capital, and the Federal Executive Council has approved the National Industrial Relations Policy to check frequent industrial actions and improve industrial relations in Nigeria. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, stated this while outlining some of the resolutions from the day's Federal Executive Council meeting, which took place at the State House.
The council chamber of the State House is busy as cabinet ministers get set for the week's Federal Executive Council meeting. The meeting commences with the arrival of President Bola Tinubu. The first item taken is the swearing-in of Nnamdi Kalu as a commissioner representing the Southeast in the National Assembly Service Commission. The council also observed a moment of silence for late Navy Captain Caleb Olubolade, a former Minister of Special Duties and Minister of State for the FCT. The meeting then transited into a closed session. A few hours later, the meeting ended and some of the ministers briefed correspondents on the resolutions reached, one of which is the approval of a National Industrial Relations Policy.
This policy is essential for regulating the conduct of the various trade unions within the industrial relations space in the country. This is due to frequent industrial actions over the years caused by the lack of a comprehensive national policy.
The council also approved additional centers for health care across the country and encouraged the Minister of Health to address the industrial tensions in the sector.
Tomorrow, we are having further discussions with leadership of those unions in the spirit of Mr. President's encouragement for us to ensure lasting peace, to resolve those issues to the extent possible. And we'll continue in that direction. We call on all health workers to put the Nigerian person at the center of our attention.
Approvals were also given to the Ministry of Power and Aviation
for energizing education program under the special intervention of the Renewed Hope Infrastructure Development Funding for the Rural Electrification Agency, which is targeted at relieving our educational institutions and teaching hospitals of the burden of huge energy costs.
One is the rehabilitation, upgrade, and modernization of the International Terminal 1 in Lagos.
So that old airport you see there, the old Lagos airports, Murtala Mohammed International Airports, we have decided to strip it down for total rehabilitation. So this is also a call. I was going to wait for a time to call to, tell Nigerians to be patient why this happens. You may have traffic grid going into the airport at that time.
The council also approved some key road projects across the country. From the presidential villa, Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
Even as the Federal Executive Council approves a national industrial relations policy to curb recurring strikes and foster better labor engagement, Nigeria's healthcare workers are already putting the system to the test. Our next report takes a look at the compliance level of the ongoing nurses' strike.
The Oyo State branch of the Nigerian Nurses Association is firm in its stance. The industrial action is on course, and the message is clear. At the University College Hospital, UCH in Ibadan, Nigeria's premier teaching hospital, the absence of nurses is acutely felt. The union's chairperson, Mrs. Fumilola Faminu, is resolute in her demand. Nurses must be included in the decision-making process within the healthcare sector, particularly on issues that directly affect her members.
The strike was occasioned by a few of our demands that have been presented to the federal government. The first one is the gazetting of the NC circular that was released in 2016. Then we are asking that a directorate cadre be established in the Federal Ministry of Health. We are asking that nurses be included in policy making in Nigeria. Also, we ask that they should implement all that they had discussed concerning our salaries and our allowances.
At the University of Benin Teaching Hospital, UBTH in Edo State, the scene is the same. Stethoscopes and thermometers lie idle as nurses are nowhere in sight. Compliance with the strike directive is evident everywhere you look. In the maternity ward, the silence is heavy. Relatives of patients can only look on, their concern palpable. One woman whose daughter gave birth just yesterday voices her distress, pleading for the strike to be called off.
My child's gave birth before the strike. We are here, we are feeling bad. We are begging our president to please pay our doctors or our nurses because they are very tragic, they are saving lives. I think since yesterday now, people are crying. There are some women that is on labor and is on pain. Nobody to rescue them.
Even with all this, the chairman of the association's federal health sector, Murakio Olajide Rowan, insists that government has failed to gazette their scheme of service after 10 years, despite repeated engagements, and that the strike will continue until the government acts on their demands.
As at yesterday too, the coordinating minister of health invited the leadership, they met, and the meeting is still inconclusive. So the meeting probably is going to continue either today or Friday. We have to make sure that part of the demands are attended to before we can suspend strike at all.
The ongoing standoff between nurses and the government highlights a fundamental challenge, bridging the gap between those on the front lines of care and the policy makers who shape their working conditions. The question now remains when and how both sides will find a common ground to restore normalcy to the nation's hospitals.
Lawmakers at the National Assembly got busy at the Red Chamber with the Senate Committee on the Nigerian Army advocating the need for the Army to be delisted from the envelope budgeting system to guarantee increased funding. Speaking in Abuja during an oversight visit to the Army headquarters, the chairman of the committee, Senator Abdulaziz Yaradua, says the Army needs more funds to prosecute the fight against insurgency. He assures the leadership of the Army that the Senate will continue to support its quest to make Nigeria a safe haven for citizens.
The Senate Committee on Army, led by its chairman, is visiting the headquarters of the Nigerian Army as part of its oversight function. In his opening remarks, The leader of the team states the essence of the visit.
We are here today as part of our mandate for oversight on 2023-2024 Appropriation Act. This exercise started about 2-3 weeks ago, and this oversight is in line with Section 88 and 89 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as well as Order 103 of our Senate rules.
With increased budgetary provision, the Senate believes the army will be better placed to prosecute the fight against insurgency.
The funds that will be appropriated to the army will not only be more, we are hoping by the grace of God, the Nigerian Army and Armed Forces should be taken out of the envelope budget so that they have more funds to ensure that what is required to provide the security for this nation is done.
Bothered by the worsening cases of accommodation for army personnel, the Chief of Army Staff harps on the need for better funding.
I remember the last time we were here, I made mention of the accommodation deficiency in the army. And that has not improved because we are recruiting more. Like this year now, we're going to have about 13,000 coming to the army. But we don't have the corresponding resources to provide accommodation for them. So as we speak, the army, I think we still have a deficiency of about 40% of our soldiers not being accommodated.
As the Nigerian army continues the fight against insurgents, the Chief of Army Staff is optimistic that with better funding, the army, in conjunction with other security agencies, will make Nigeria safer.
Nigeria's persistent insecurity and conflicts are driven by governance failures, youth unemployment, climate change, and weak local institutions. This is according to a new National Strategic Conflict Assessment released by the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution and unveiled in Abuja, the nation's capital. The report highlights the spread of banditry, separatist violence, digital disinformation, and environmental stress as key triggers of instability across the country.
What this study also have done is to provide some new insight and nuances, into the Nigerian conflict landscape. State by state, zone by zone. There might be some levels of similarities, but the local context differs significantly. And that is why interveners, they need to refer to these documents to understand the specificity and the local context, that is applicable to each conflict zone. We do understand the liberalization and the proliferation of violence across the nooks and crannies of Nigeria. What this study have done is to capture those levels of violence because there are different strategies in managing violence. There are some violence you might need the kinetic approach to manage. There are some other violence also you need to understand the root causes in the management of those crises. There are some violence that are related to unemployment of youths, like the study have found out in most rural areas of Nigeria. There is a large population, a very huge, significant population of Nigerian youths, rural people that are grossly unemployed. So we need to begin to develop strategic approaches on how to resolve these entire conflict situations in the nation.
In part two, after the break, host communities in the eastern corridor of the Niger Delta call on President Bola Tinubu to extend the surveillance contract of Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited. Please stay with us.
To level up your game. Body bet. Bet smart, win big, play with confidence. Incredible. unforgettable lows, non-stop action, fast payouts. And it's all safe, secure, and just a click away. What do you bet? Bet smart, win big, play with confidence.
Play now for a chance to win.
What do you bet?
In the heart of Africa's largest economy, a silent transformation is unfolding. At the center of it all is Conga Group, an ecosystem of innovation, commerce, and capability.
Our goal was simple, yet ambitious: to build robust infrastructure that simply connects our customers and our merchants, offering our customers greater variety while creating wealth and new opportunities for our merchants.
Our edge isn't just tech, it's about national execution every day.
Conga Health, where science meets beauty.
We are the engine behind Conga's nationwide delivery power.
We are redefining commerce in Nigeria, connecting millions of buyers and sellers through a secure, trusted, and scalable marketplace.
Conga Corporates serves the needs of corporates, delivered at the right price, at the right time, with peace of mind. Conga Pay, a fintech built on integrity for seamless transactions for merchants and everyone. Conga Radio and TV, connecting brands to their target audience and markets.
With Conga, what can't you do? Conga Group, the e-commerce group you trust.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Federal Executive Council approves national policy to strengthen industrial harmony, a framework to enhance labor relations across all sectors. Senate Army Committee seeks exit from the envelope budgeting to secure greater operational funding. Nigerian Petroleum Regulator reports oil output surpasses 1.8 million barrels daily in deep water sector. And U.S. Middle East envoy heads to Gaza following productive talks with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Nigeria's oil production has risen above 1.8 million barrels per day, and that's coming from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, the NUPRC. Now, the commission also set up a steering committee to harness the oil and gas potential of Nigeria's deep waters. This was revealed by the executive commissioner in charge of economic regulation and strategic planning at the NUPRC, Mr. Babajide Fashina, who represented the chief executive officer of the commission at the stakeholders workshop in Abuja. Our correspondent, Dele Amoyeni, reports.
An industry stakeholders workshop on deep and shallow water cluster and nodal development in Nigeria for oil and gas experts and players. The theme of this workshop is harnessing the potentials of deep and shallow water oil and gas accumulations through clusters and nodal development in Nigeria. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission is organizing the workshop to drive growth in Nigeria's oil and gas industry.
My dear colleagues, industry stakeholders, it is in the light of the number of yet to be developed deep water opportunities I constituted a shallow and deep water cluster development committee in the commission to a collaborative effort with our amiable industry players on how to unlock these potentials. We see this and do not have feasible clusters or nodal development. As a mainstay of our economy and a vital contributor to the national revenue, it is therefore imperative that we take decisive steps to grow and sustain our production and put our nation back on the path of growth and stability.
The Commission also disclosed the nation's current crude production.
As a regulator that is forward-looking, it's a big concern for us. It's a big concern for the industry. It's a big concern for this nation. And if you look at the production today, just before I proceed, we had production yesterday of 1.824. So we crossed that 1.8 boundary. again for the first time in July this month.
The committee is to consult widely and present an actionable report to the Commission. Dele Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
Members of communities playing host to the Trans-Niger pipeline in the eastern corridor of the Niger Delta, through which the pipeline runs, have called on President Bola Tinubu to put modalities in place to extend the surveillance contract of Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited. This was part of an expanded World Press Conference put together by stakeholders of the host communities in Port Harcourt earlier today. They also praised PINL for the increased oil output witnessed in the country.
This World Press Conference in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, is organized by host communities in the Eastern Corridor, through which the Trans-Niger pipeline traverses. With monarchs, community leaders, and other stakeholders in attendance, the spokesman commends the surveillance company, Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited, for a job well done.
We are here pleased to declare, as many others have, that we are highly satisfied with the manner in which PINL is conducting its operations across our various communities. From the onset of their operations as surveillance contractors in 2022, PINL's presence and impact have been strongly felt in our communities.
Billionaire businessman Tony Elumelu praises President Tinubu for improved oil output, a sentiment echoed by a community leader who credits PINL for the development.
Mr. President, before you took over to 2023, people here know, I shouted on social media, I tweeted that we were producing and losing 97% of our oil production. 97, Mr. President, over 50,000 barrels, 97%. Mr. President, every month we do what is called fiscalization. Last month, for month of June, and let's say Energy will know this, we got 98%. So 2% loss is significant. People don't know this, but it takes time.
Everybody sees these pipelines as their own, and then that attention is given. And I can tell you right now that that's an area where we have zero tolerance, because everybody knows that it is their own now. So the only buttresses what we are doing. And let us get this clear. They are upstream. You know what we're doing here is what? Is downstream.
Another stakeholder makes a case for the president to give PINL more responsibility, as they have successfully helped secure the TNP in the corridor.
There should be a directive to the structure of government, the NNPC, and the Office of the National Security Advisor, to not just retain pipeline infrastructure in the Eastern Corridor, but she should be given more responsibilities.
The event ends with a vote of confidence being passed on the Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited. Charles Oporum, Channels Television News.
President Bola Tinubu has charged state governors to prioritize the welfare of Nigerians by investing more in their future, putting more money in rural electrification, agricultural mechanization, poverty eradication, and improved investment in infrastructure. This followed the endorsement of a new ward-based development strategy, the Renewed Hope Ward Development Program, by the National Economic Council at the State House Council Chambers, Abuja. The development program is expected to ensure a double-digit economic growth through direct intervention in Nigeria's 8,809 administrative wards across all the 36 states. Speaking after the meeting, Chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum and Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma explained that the initiative aligns with the plans the governors were considering. The Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Abubakar Bagudu, also adds that the program will help ensure more development at the macroeconomic level.
The President's memo or proposal to us this afternoon was in sync with our thinking on how best to strengthen the economic activities at the world level. You must have been told that we are earning more money as a result of these policies These more monies come to states in form of allocation, also comes to local government to strengthen their legacy projects. But, of course, if you are building an infrastructure, it takes a long time for a 38-kilometer route to be completed. But before that is done, there are artisans, there are the vulnerable group, there are the low-income earners at the lower level that needs to be supported. So something that will act as a stimulus package to stimulate economic activities. We were thinking about that when President Na presented his memo. So we were very happy and excited. And all of us were in agreement that it is a program that is worth doing. And we signed to it.
Having stabilized the macroeconomy, the next step is to drill down development to the lowest levels so that we can, in the 8,809 wards of the country, simulate economic activity which we believe will generate employment, reduce poverty, enhance food security, and even enhance social protection.
The president has hailed the legacy of the Esama of Benin Kingdom Chief Gabriel Igbinedion, describing him as a titan in business and a cultural icon. President Bola Tinubu made the remark at a public presentation of a book chronicling the life and legacy of Chief Igbinedion in Abuja. The president, who was represented at the event by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. George Akume, commended the Esama of Benin for his towering achievements in business, particularly in education and transport.
It's the official public presentation of a new book in honor of the Esama of Benin, Chief Gabriel Osawaru Igbinedion. The event, organized under the auspices of the House of Igbinedion, has in attendance the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, past and serving governors, members of the National Assembly, amongst other dignitaries. The 256 pages book, titled The Chronicles of a Legend, offers a deep insight into the life and journey of Chief Igbinedion.
This book, The Chronicles of a Legend, is therefore both timely and timeless. It is timely because our nation, especially our youth, are in need of mentors and models whose lives prove that greatness is not an accident, but a deliberate commitment to values, to purpose, and to people.
I'm curious to see how a 256-page book can effectively do justice to the task of capturing the whole essence of a man whose life redefines the words titan, legend, and quintessential.
Tasked with the responsibility of bringing the pages of the book to life, the book reviewer, Professor Lawrence Ezemonye, described it as an inspirational account of a man who has truly lived for the people.
This book succeeds in its noble ambition by providing a rich, multi-layered and deeply moving portrait of a man who is undeniable one of the architects of modern Nigeria. We see the visionary who has built industry, the philanthropist who built institution, the patriarch who built a dynasty.
Speaking virtually from his home in Benin City, Chief Igbinedion expressed his gratitude.
I'm happy to welcome you all to this special occasion of a book presentation in my honor being organized by my children. I thank my son, Lucky Nokraka Igbinedion, and his brothers who have been able to put this together in my lifetime.
In a goodwill remark, the Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 elections, Mr. Peter Obi, who also described Chief Igbinedion as an entrepreneurial genius, called on the government to change the reward system in Nigeria.
We have to change the way we honor people. The GCFR and GCON should be people who are entrepreneurial and productive, not us, the politicians.
The book is then unveiled. The book, which is a preservation of the values and legacy of the Esama of Benin, will serve as a historical and inspirational account for current and future generations. From Abuja, Victoria Longchan, Channels Television News.
Let's head to the courts now, and the Federal Court of Appeal sitting in Akure, Ondo State capital, has affirmed the election of Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa and his deputy, Dr. Olaide Adelami, in the November 16, 2024 governorship election. The court, in the ruling on Thursday, dismissed the appeals filed by the PDP, ADC, APM, and the SDP. The appellants are challenging the June 4, 2025 judgment of the Ondo State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal, which upheld the victory of Mr. Aiyedatiwa. In the unanimous decision, the three-man panel of judges, comprising Justices Nimpa Yagata, K.I. Amadi, and I.M. Sani, struck out the appeals one after the other for lacking in merit and failing to prove allegations of non-compliance with the Electoral Act. The Court of Appeal affirmed the earlier judgment of the tribunal and also awarded a total cost of 1.5 million naira against the appellants. Governor Aiyedatiwa, in his reaction, describes the verdict as a welcome development.
Judiciary, through the court, has also performed one of their constitutional rules as the last hope for the common man. The appeal court here in Akure, Ondo State, has just affirmed the decision of the Election Petition Tribunal concerning the governorship election that took place on the 16th days of November 2024, in which I and my deputy were returned as winner of that election. So I want to use this opportunity to thank the people of Ondo State who gave us the mandate overwhelmingly, a record-broken victory, 366,781 votes across the entire local government on that day.
Still ahead on the news at 10, latest report from IATA shows African airlines leading cargo capacity growth despite drop in demand. That's in business news. Please join us again. Welcome back. Let's now head to the nation's capital, and Millicent Walker is standing by to give us the very latest from our British studios. Over to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Ayatunde. We continue with the courtrooms where the sword of justice was eventually swung as the Kwara State High Court Ilorin sentenced one Abdurrahman Bello to death by hanging for the murder of a final year student, Hafsa Lawal. Indeed, the High Court was full to capacity as pressmen, family of the slain and accused, witnessed the judgment that was delivered by Justice Hannah Ajayi. While delivering her judgment, Justice Ajayi set free 4 other defendants and cleared them of any wrongdoing. The 4 others, alongside the prime suspect, Abdurrahman Bello, were tried as accomplices to the crime. Hafsa was said to have been murdered by Abdurrahman Bello, who reportedly dismembered her body and preserved her palms in a bucket in his apartment.
The premises of the Kwara State High Court in Ilorin, the state capital, is abuzz, and the court is filled as residents, relatives and parties in the case of the alleged murder of a final year student of the College of Education in Ilorin, Hafsa Lawal, nears conclusion. According to the authorities, the incident occurred on February 10th, 2025 in Ulunlade area of the state's capital. The suspects were accused of removal of the body parts of the victim. Facing a 5-count charge, the suspect, Abdurrahman Bello, was subsequently arraigned before the Kwara State High Court at 5 months after its judgment day for him and 4 others. The judgment lasted 3 hours as the presiding judge, Justice Anna Ajayi, exonerates 4 other suspects, stating that there's no evidence showing their complicity in the crime. Focusing on the prime suspect, Justice Ajayi described the killing of Hafsa Lawal as cruel and wicked. She therefore sentenced Abdurrahman Bello to death by hanging.
the forwarders have been discharged. Whereas we told you right from the inception that we can't, as a lawyer, we cannot make pronouncement that they will be exonerated, that we cannot preempt the court. But we knew, mere looking at their charges and all the exhibits filed along with it, we knew that they were not liable and they are not probably to be charged or to get that proof against them.
As the judgment was delivered, it took and lasted for 2.5 hours. There were 4 counts charged of conspiracy, rape, being in possession of human parts and blood, then homicide. For the offense of conspiracy, the court found that there was no conspiracy. Conspiracy was not established as an offense against the 5 defendants. Hence, the 2nd to the 5th defendants were discharged and acquitted.
The family of the victim are delighted that justice has eventually taken its full course.
Since the beginning of this court case, we have been here several times for the sitting. We thank Almighty Allah for giving us a victory, justice, as we are expecting it to be done.
Nevertheless, the court admonished Nigerians to be wary of the influence of social media.
Away from the courts, and in what appears to be a win for women, the federal government, through the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, is launching a unique all-women housing construction project to boost gender inclusion in the sector. The initiative, in partnership with the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, will have women lead every stage from design to construction. The managing director of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria announced this during a Bank's Day at a housing event in Abuja. Our correspondent Benny Ark has more.
The Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria has unveiled its all-women housing initiative at the ongoing housing show in Abuja. Present at the event were government officials, a representative of the Minister of Housing, industry stakeholders, developers, and private sector representatives. The project, in collaboration with the Ministry of Women's Affairs, will see women handle all aspects of delivery, from planning to execution.
The bank is also working towards rolling out a women housing initiative in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, where everybody to be involved in delivering the housing projects under the scheme will be women, from the design architects to the engineers to the artisans and the laborers, all will be women.
Mr. Osidi also highlighted recent gains in housing finance and plans to complete ongoing projects.
At the FMBN Day last year, we announced the constitution of 7 recovery task teams to recover delinquent loans across the country's geopolitical zones. By the end of 2024, the teams had raked in over 10.9 billion naira in bad loans. This was in addition to our normal recovery activities, which also yielded the sum of 3.5 billion in the same year. The recovery from the teams is currently at over 18.9 billion naira.
In a message delivered by Special Advisor on Media, the Minister of Housing spoke on the affordability challenge and efforts to provide solutions.
Many Nigerians, including long-standing contributors to the National Housing Fund, still cannot afford to access this mortgage product. Even with a 6% interest rate, millions of Nigerians still cannot afford FMBN's mortgage product. This demonstrates that low interest rates alone is not enough. We need to think differently, to look for mechanisms that will further scale down the effective cost of mortgages.
The Women's Housing Initiative is seen as a major step to bridging the gender gap in the housing sector. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
And back in Lagos, the victory party of 10-time Women's Africa Cup of Nations champions, the Super Falcons, was flamboyant. Thanks to Amstel Malt and Goldberg, 2 brands of Nigerian Breweries PLC. The players and coaching crew were well received at Nigerian Breweries headquarters in Igomu, Lagos, by top management team and staff of the company to celebrate the team.
It's a joyous moment at the Murtala Mohammed Airport Terminal 2 in Lagos, as fans await the arrival of Africa's most decorated female football team from Abuja, thanks to Amstel Malt and Goldberg brands of Nigerian Breweries PLC. It's all cheers and excitement from supporters clubs, football fans and the media as the 10-time champions, the Super Falcons, and their coaching crew file out of the arrival wing. From the airport, the team and officials move to the headquarters of Nigerian Breweries PLC. They are received by the management team and staff of the company and taken on a tour.
We all recognize as a people how tough the last couple of years has been. And to have this victory means so much. It means hope. It means optimism. It means that the country is moving forward. And we're super proud of what Super Falcons have done to make that really happen for Nigeria. And to the company Nigerian Breweries, if you think about the values of our organization, courage is extremely important, and I think everybody recognizes that that's exactly what the Falcons demonstrated.
Beyond the celebration, the brand promises to make more impact in sports.
The fact that we have been around for nearly 80 years, by the way, next year we're going to be 80 years in Nigeria, that points to the fact that we are very much interested in what will last the test of time. And so this partnership is indeed for the long haul, right? And for us, it's even a reflection of the resilience that, kind of defines who we are as a company, which also aligns with the spirit, the Super Falcons demonstrated, against all odds. You can imagine what was a Mission X that was almost becoming a Mission Impossible, and overnight, and they were able to turn it to a great outing, and of course, came home with the trophy. And so for us, this is a commitment that we are making, that we will, together with the Super Falcons and of course with the NFF, go on this for the long haul. We've been on this together and we will definitely sustain it.
The victorious team leaves the company headquarters for an open bus parade facilitated by the Amstel and Goldberg brands.
Congratulations once more to the Super Falcons. Well, that's it from the nation's capitals. Over now to Will Ibong in Lagos for business news.
Thank you, Millicent. From the Flying Falcons, we see the African Airlines growing their cargo capacity by 6.2% in June 2025, even as demand dropped by 3.9% year-on-year, and that's according to new air cargo data from the International Air Transport Association, IATA. Now, the global trend was similar: weak demand and rising capacity driven by trade tensions and geopolitical risk affecting long-haul routes. Despite the challenges, Africa recorded the highest cargo capacity growth among all regions, but also had the second largest drop in demand after North America. IATA notes global recovery remains uneven amid economic and geopolitical uncertainty. Now, there have been reactions following the whole decision by the United States Federal Reserve, with Chair Jerome Powell showing no preference for cutting rates at the central bank's next meeting in September. The Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company, Mr. Bismarck Ruwani, was a guest on Business Morning, shared some expectations and possible impacts of the decision.
What the market is saying is that if we're going to have a cut in September, it may not be 25 bips, it may be 50 basis points, which is good. So that what that did essentially was to weaken the dollar, make sure, and you announced it just now that the price of oil, Brent, has gone up to $72 plus. Which is good because when the dollar weakens, the price of commodities denominated in dollars increase. So we'll see that. And it's quite interesting that the question is that, what does this mean? The stock market took it, all indices went down. But after hours, we saw Meta, which is Zuckerberg, the earnings blew out the market, and it went up by over 11-12% after hours. Then this morning, Microsoft also had released their results yesterday, and Microsoft now appears to be the second company that will achieve $4 trillion of market capitalization after NVIDIA. So a lot of things are happening.
Speaking of markets, let's check in with the domestic equities market, which ended the trading day positive, sustaining a 20-day rally at the NGX. Inijamekwa has the details.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, the month of July started and is ending on a high at the NGX. Yes, the green color continues. Today, Dangote Cement added mostly to that. It opened at 509 naira 60 kobo, gained 18 naira 70 kobo to close at 528 naira 30 kobo. Other contributors to the green color that we have at today are Wema Bank is closing at 22 naira. UACN, after the news that UACN is acquiring Chivita from Coca-Cola, obviously that has attracted some investors there. So we see it closing at 18 naira 30 kobo after gaining 10%. Wema Bank, we have also 10%, as well as Guinness, a giant that's always been moving. On the flip side, we have losers, Learn Africa, Mansard, as well as FTN Cocoa. They had some profit taking on them, but at the close of trade, it's still a green color today. 0.42% on the all share index after 364 billion naira had been added. And yes, we're still on the 139,000 level, which we gained yesterday, but it's looking really close, like we might get to 140 tomorrow if this trend continues, and hopefully it will. I know that's what the bull is praying for.
Thank you, Ini. We'll keep watching investor sentiments in the month of August. And let's see the performance of other major global markets now. And that's business news. It's back to Ayotunde for more on the news at 10.
Thanks, Will. U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, will visit Gaza on Friday. Well, the visit follows his productive meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and aims to secure a plan to deliver more food and meet with local Gazans to hear firsthand about this dire situation on ground. Here's Simon Pusey with more international news and Around the World in 5 from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has said Canada plans to recognise a Palestinian state in September, becoming the third G7 nation to make such an announcement in recent days. Mr. Carney said the move depended on democratic reforms, including the Palestinian Authority holding elections next year without Hamas. Israel's foreign ministry rejected Canada's announcement, calling it a reward for Hamas.
Canada has long been committed to a two-state solution. An independent, viable, and sovereign Palestinian state living side by side with the state of Israel in peace and security. For decades, it was hoped that this outcome would be achieved as part of a peace process built around a negotiated settlement between the Israeli government and the Palestinian Authority.
Meanwhile, a hospital says more than 50 Palestinians were killed and 400 others injured while waiting for food near a crossing in northern Gaza. Footage showed casualties from the incident near the Zikim crossing being taken on carts to Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City. Gaza's Hamas-run civil defense agency said Israeli forces fired at crowds gathered around lorries. The Israeli military said troops fired warning shots, but that it was not aware of any casualties. Separately, the US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is due to meet Israeli officials who are considering punitive measures against Hamas after ceasefire and hostage release deal talks stalled last week. 8 people have been killed and more than 130 others wounded in a barrage of Russian drone and missile strikes across several districts in Kyiv that brought down an apartment block overnight. A 6-year-old boy and his mother were among the dead as more than 24 locations across the capital were hit. The mayor, Vitaly Klitschko, said 12 children were among the wounded, the biggest number of children wounded in Kyiv in one night since the full-scale war began. Local officials have said flooding killed 31 residents at a care home for elderly people on the outskirts of Beijing in China this week. Footage showed emergency teams wading through chest-high waters, trying to rescue those trapped in the home in Miyun district. Many of those who died were reportedly immobile. Local officials have admitted there were loopholes in emergency planning and said the incident was a painful lesson that served as a wake-up call. Medics have said 13 children died last month as a result of the severe shortage of food at a displacement camp in war-torn Sudan's eastern Darfur state. The Sudan Doctors Network, a professional organisation with members working inside Lagawa camp, reported deteriorating humanitarian conditions and widespread malnutrition, a hunger crisis caused by the 27-month civil war that has devastated the country. Barcelona players will have Democratic Republic Congo Heart of Africa emblazoned on the back of their training shirts from the start of next season, after the top Spanish football team agreed on a 4-year deal with the Central African country. The partnership will reportedly cost the Democratic Republic of Congo €44 million, although the club has not disclosed the amount it will receive. The arrangement has faced criticism from some Congolese who have questioned their government's priorities. A storm is brewing in Kenya over the latest proposals to control the sale and consumption of alcohol, including raising the minimum drinking age from 18 to 21. The sweeping proposed rules include a ban on purchasing alcohol in supermarkets, restaurants, and on public transport. The authorities have defended the planned measures as necessary to address substance abuse, but many Kenyans have criticised the proposals as misguided and potentially destructive to the economy. And a researcher at an Australian university has discovered a new supersized species of stick insect in a remote rainforest in Queensland in Australia. Professor Angus Emmott identified the new Acrophila alta species in the canopies of the mountainous wet tropics region in the northeast of the country. James Cook University said the insects are roughly 40 centimetres long. This specimen weighs 44 grams, which is slightly less than a golf ball.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. It's a moment of pride and celebration as MTN Nigeria, in partnership with Goldberg and Amstel Motor, honors the Super Falcons for their remarkable triumph at the Women's African Cup of Nations in Morocco, where they secured a record-breaking 10th title. From a colorful bus parade through the streets of Lagos to an exclusive breakfast reception, the event shines a spotlight on the champions' achievements. The players received 115 million naira cash reward, while the technical crew was recognized with 35 million naira, a gesture applauding their hard work and resilience.
With pride and purpose, the Super Falcons take their hard-earned trophy through the heart of the city, heading to the MTN Nigeria office. Welcomed with applause and admiration by MTN's top executives, the champions are celebrated for bringing the title home yet again. On Thursday morning, the atmosphere shifts to elegance at Eko Hotel and Suites, where MTN hosts a special breakfast in honor of the Super Falcons. In attendance is MTN board members, prominent business leaders, and officials from the Nigeria Football Federation.
What we would like to do is to celebrate you, to celebrate your strength, to celebrate your patriotism, to celebrate the determination and your ability to put in dedication and talent.
This is more than a meal. It's a tribute to excellence, resilience, and the power of women in sports.
At 2-0, halftime, my heart had dropped. I thought this was over. When the third goal was scored, I actually had a tear in my eye. Thank you for giving me such a joyous moment. You guys make us extremely proud, and you represent what is written here. Niger no they carry last.
During the event, the players shared stories from their journey in Morocco, offering heartfelt gratitude to NFF executive member Aisha Falode for her unwavering support throughout the Mission X campaign.
Before the game ended, immediately we came in for the second half. I was shouting, girls, we're not going to lose this match, we're not going to lose this match, because we know you all are watching, and we know all the promises you've made to us, and the goal was not to let you guys down. We have such a group of talents. The players are focused in the one-on-ones, and we have support from the federation as well, even though we always get back and forth.
As with every great celebration, the moment comes full circle with rewards. MTN Nigeria presents 150 million naira to the players and coaching crew.
115 million will go to the players, and the remaining will go to the team.
Today is a very proud, moment for us. It represents everything, that we stand for in MTN with regards to our inclusiveness, the gender equality that we preach. I mean, when you look at MTN, for example, today we have almost a 50-50 balance, about 48% or 46% women make up for the executive team. So when you have ladies, girls, doing wonderful things, we are super proud of them. We are ecstatic at how far they've come. I mean, we've had this tournament 13 times.
They've showed the resilience of the Nigerian spirit. It also showed that you never give up, no matter what situation or circumstance that you find yourselves. And that's one of the reasons why we're all also on the MTN board, because MTN stands for exactly that.
When you see a brand like this, who believes in the power of women, who believes that the girl child needs to have equal opportunity, is MTN. For what they've done for women's football, for what they've done for the Super Falcons, we must learn to invest. We must learn to believe in the power of potential.
Their victory is not just a headline, it's a message. A message to every girl with a dream. Lace up, step out, and make history.
Congratulations once again to the Super Falcons. Ayo, it's back to you.
And the main news again. The Federal Executive Council today approved a national policy to strengthen industrial harmony. Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris explained that the framework would enhance labor relations across all sectors. And on a programming note, August the 1st, starting August the 1st, that is, Channels TV is expanding its news bulletin lineup with 3 additional broadcasts to keep you informed throughout the day. 1 p.m., the midday update brings you the latest headlines and breaking news to get you through the afternoon. 4 p.m., the afternoon briefing offers an in-depth look at current events and expert analysis. And 5 p.m., News at 5 provides an update on the day's most important stories with updates and special guests. All these come your way ahead of our flagship, the News at 10. So, don't miss a beat. Tune in to Channels Television starting August the 1st for more comprehensive news coverage all day long. That's the News at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. You have a good night.